You feel it, don't you, that quiet tension, that persistent sense of something shifting beneath your feet. You've tried to stay strong, to hold everything together with plans and logic, but uncertainty has crept in. It speaks in the gaps between tasks, in the stillness before sleep, in that ache you can't quite name. You whisper, God, where am I supposed to go from here? And I hear every syllable, beloved. Before you spoke, I was already near. You've been taught that clarity is the sign of my presence, that certainty means you're on the right path. But I want you to know something deeper. It is not clarity that defines my guidance. It is me. I am your guide, not just when the road is well lit, but especially when the fog is thick. When you can't see the way, it doesn't mean you're lost. It means I'm teaching you to walk by trust, not by sight. Walking by trust, not by sight. That ache in your chest that longs for direction, I feel it too, not with frustration, but with compassion. I know you crave control, but my love for you is too great to hand you a future that doesn't require intimacy with me. I'm not just preparing a path for you, I'm preparing you for the path. That's why it feels unclear, why it feels slow. I am forming in you a faith that doesn't collapse under pressure, a trust that doesn't evaporate when plans fall apart, a peace that doesn't depend on knowing what comes next. You often look outward for my guidance, thinking it will come through signs and circumstances. Sometimes it does, but most often, it begins inside you in the quiet nudges, the gentle convictions, the sense of rest that fills you when something aligns with my heart. That's where I begin to speak, because I want you to learn the sound of my voice, to know it so well that even in the world's noise, you'll hear me clearly. Let go of the idea that my guidance will always feel like certainty. Sometimes it feels like standing on the edge of a cliff with only my hand stretched out, saying, trust me. You don't get the whole picture. You get my presence. And that has always been enough. You are not wandering aimlessly. Remember, I led Abraham to a land he didn't know. I called Moses into a desert with no clear plan. I brought my son into a world that would not receive him. And still, he walked forward. Not because the path was certain, but because he was. And so are you. I've placed my spirit within you. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are walking with the light of the world living in you. I know the way. I am the way. Even when it feels like nothing is moving, everything is being aligned. Every delay, every redirection, every moment that feels like waiting is saturated with purpose. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. I am threading meaning through it all. You don't need to have all the answers to move forward. You only need to move with me. That might mean waiting in stillness, stepping into unknown spaces, or releasing the illusion of control and choosing to trust again and again. But wherever I lead, I do not leave. Wherever I guide, I go with you. And wherever you find yourself today, I am here. When your thoughts spin and the weight of uncertainty grows heavy, breathe. Invite me in. When you say, God, I don't know what to do, that is a prayer I cherish. That is where I begin to pour in wisdom, not always in sudden revelations, but often in steady awareness, in peace that makes no sense, in quiet courage to take one step at a time. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not forgotten. You are being guided by hands that formed you, by love that cannot be shaken, by grace that surrounds your every moment. The compass within. Release your need to know everything. Come rest in the truth that you are not navigating life alone. I am not just above you watching, I am beside you, within you, ahead of you. And I will never stop guiding you. Even now, especially now, there is a compass inside of you, placed there by my own hand. You may call it intuition, discernment, or a gut feeling, but what you sense is my spirit living and active within your soul, inviting you to draw near when the path ahead is unclear. I did not leave you defenseless. I gave you something eternal to navigate what is temporary. That's why, even when your mind spirals and the world shouts conflicting directions, there is a voice within that still calls you home to peace. That voice is mine. You often think of guidance as external, a job offer, a conversation, a door that opens or closes. And yes, I use those things. But my deepest guidance flows from the inside out. It begins in the silence where you are brave enough to ask me, God, what are you saying, and then wait, not anxiously, but expectantly. When you quiet the noise, I speak not in riddles, but in reassurance, not in confusion, but in calm. You don't have to strain to hear me. You just need to slow down enough to notice. I'm always speaking, but often the channel is jammed with other voices: fear, hurry, regret, what if. When you return to me in prayer, not out of ritual, but relationship, you begin to recognize the difference between my voice and all the rest. Mine doesn't rush you. It doesn't shame you. It doesn't confuse. It leads with peace. My answers take different forms. Many things you prayed for haven't unfolded as you expected. That's not because I failed to answer, it's because my answer took a form your mind didn't anticipate. You wanted the mountain moved, but I gave you stronger legs to climb it. You wanted the door to swing wide, but I redirected you to a better one. You wanted certainty, but I gave you faith. And that, beloved, is the deeper miracle. When your soul learns to follow without having to know all the details, your compass begins to align more clearly. You start recognizing me in unexpected places, a moment of stillness, a conversation that touches something deep, a sudden surge of courage. These are not coincidences, these are coordinates. There will be times when following my guidance feels like walking upstream. You'll need to let go of good things to make space for what is holy. Others won't understand your choices. Even you will question them. But deep down in the sanctuary of your heart, you will know. You will feel the lightness that truth brings. You will hear the gentle yes of my spirit. And when you obey that yes, even in trembling, heaven moves. That's what it means to live guided, not perfectly, but faithfully. Unseen guidance and sacred stillness. I see the end from the beginning. I see the detours before they appear. I see the harm that would have come had I let you go where you begged me to send you. I see the blessing waiting just around the bend, blessings not delayed, but prepared. You've worried that you're too broken to hear me, that your past disqualifies you. Nothing could be further from the truth. I specialize in using broken vessels because they know how much they need me. When you come to me in honesty, saying, God, I don't know what to do, but I want to follow you, you open the gates to divine intimacy. That's where my guidance flows strongest. So don't be afraid of the stillness. Don't be afraid of pausing long enough to listen. That stillness is where your compass resets. That pause is where confusion begins to untangle. Let your prayer be less about information and more about connection. When you draw near, not for answers, but for me, I will give you both. Sometimes I will guide you through absence when you lose interest in something, when a door closes gently but firmly, when you try to force a path and nothing clicks. That too is me guiding you, not with rejection, but with redirection. I'm not just moving you toward a goal, I'm moving you into alignment with who I created you to be. Your future isn't as fragile as you fear because it's not in your hands alone. It's in mine. and I am not careless with what I love. Recognizing my subtle paths. Sometimes the question isn't God, are you guiding me, but rather, how do I recognize your guidance when it doesn't look the way I expected? You've looked for clear signs, dramatic moments, loud yes, or nos. And while I can speak that way, I often choose subtler paths because I'm not just trying to direct your life, I'm forming your heart. And hearts don't grow in noise, they grow in awareness. You've had moments where something small, barely noticeable, shifted your whole perspective, a word someone said, a door that didn't open and felt like relief, a restlessness in your spirit you couldn't explain. These are my fingerprints, the brush strokes of divine artistry. I do not always shout from mountaintops, sometimes I whisper through routine, through repetition, through gentle nudges that only the soul attuned to me can perceive. This is why I invite you daily into stillness, not as a duty, but as a gift. When you quiet the world's demands, you begin to notice me in places you once overlooked, the way the light softens, the unexpected peace, the joy that flutters. These are not coincidences, these are confirmations. But you must slow down to see them. The pace of this world does not foster spiritual attentiveness. I want you to be with me, not just led by me. I don't want to be a GPS you consult when you're lost, I want to be the one you walk with every step of the way. Learning to recognize my guidance is less about effort and more about presence. I speak through your convictions, those moments when your soul tightens at the thought of moving forward in a direction that looks good but doesn't feel right. That's not fear, that's discernment. And I speak through confirmation. Sometimes, when I want you to notice something, I bring it up more than once, from different angles, until your spirit starts to lean in. That's how I prepare your heart before the mind catches up. Trusting the unfolding path. You've asked for signs. I've given them, not always in the way you wanted, but always in the way you needed. You were looking for lightning, I sent stillness. You hoped for a prophetic dream, I gave you a persistent feeling. You expected a yes or no, I gave you a shift in peace. Because I'm not trying to control you, I'm trying to draw you. You will recognize my guidance more clearly when you stop demanding clarity and start cultivating closeness. When you trust that even the smallest response of your heart to my presence matters. When you stop needing to understand every detail and start resting in the knowing that I'm already where you're going. That's when discernment deepens. That's when wisdom rises. There are times when my guidance won't feel good. What I withhold is always as important as what I give. I am not keeping you from something good, I am preserving you for what is best. And yes, I still use circumstances to guide, a door closed, a call unanswered, a job that ends, a plan that falls apart. These can be painful, but often, these are the very moments I steer you into new space I've been preparing long before you knew you'd need it. You can trust me not just with the open paths but with the closed ones. Not just with the clarity but with the questions. So when you find yourself unsure, turn inward. Ask not just what do I want but where is the peace. Ask not just what looks right but what feels aligned. I've trained your spirit to respond to my voice. You know me. And even if you don't always feel that confidence, it's there waiting to rise. You're not expected to be perfect at this. You are learning, growing, becoming more sensitive to my voice. Every time you pause to ask, God, are you in this? That matters. That's not doubt, that's devotion. My presence is your greatest sign. You've been told to look up when you need answers, and that's good. I dwell in the heavens in glory beyond comprehension. But I also dwell right here in the grit of your everyday, in the heartbeat of your present moment. You don't have to wait for grand revelations to know I'm guiding you. You just have to be willing to see me in what you've called ordinary, because I often hide the sacred in the simple. That moment when you chose peace over panic, that was me guiding you. When you held your tongue in a conversation and later felt an inexplicable relief, that too was my whisper leading you into wisdom. When you took a path that didn't promise success but felt inexplicably right, that wasn't coincidence, that was obedience. That was guidance in motion. I do not lead you with confusion. I lead with peace. And that peace may not always mean comfort. Sometimes it means rest in the middle of risk, a deep calm that settles over your decision even when everything around it still feels uncertain. That peace is not born of logic, it's born of me learn to trust it. Guidance is not measured by outcomes, it's measured by alignment. You can walk in my will and still face resistance. You can obey my leading and still feel unsure. You can do everything right and still face delay. Because my guidance isn't designed to simply get you to a destination, it's designed to shape you on the way. I weave my guidance through moments that feel small until you look back and see they were pivotal. You are being led not just in the major life decisions, but in the smallest acts of faithfulness. The more you walk with me, the more you begin to see that my guidance often shows up in layers. I may reveal one step now and another later. I may give you a glimpse, not because I want to tease you, but because I want you to keep walking with me. I want relationship, not just results. When you learn to live in this kind of guidance, you begin to stop asking, "What if I get it wrong?" and start asking, "God, what are you doing in this?" You stop obsessing over certainty and start practicing trust. You stop fearing mistakes and start embracing growth. And you realize that even if you take a step that wasn't best, I can redeem it. I can reroute you. I can turn anything surrendered into something sacred. Amen.